You are being lied to when you are hearing sales coaches talk about a lot of the sleazy, pushy, traditional, overcoming objections type of content that they're doing out there. And I'm going to prove it to you in this video. After 40,000 sales calls and over 2 decades as a top performer in the sales industry, and now as a sales coach for the last 5 years, here's what I can tell you that they're not really telling you as it relates to most, like 99% of the sales training that is out there. And that is that the traditional sales approach is broken. Most people do not want to be talked to that way or sell that way or be sold that way. And so while you're busy trying to memorize scripts and trying to figure out how to overcome all of their objections, those of us that really understand people understand that a lot of people are now more consciously evolved, that there is a way more elevated way to take people through the decision-making process that has very little to do with what you think sales has to do with. Something that I realized in all of my years in sales was one very, very, very key piece that no one really likes to talk about. And that is the intention of actual highest good for everyone involved. That is not what I want to say. Something after all of my years in sales that just doesn't seem to make it into all the traditional sales guys, courses, and content. And that is actually truly caring about the person that's in front of you. And what I mean is I mostly work with more consciously evolved entrepreneurs, and we are not here to manipulate or NLP our way into having somebody work with us. We are very much about being congruent and being in integrity and serving that person through the process, whether or not they choose to work with us. And what's really interesting, just like manifestation and your frequency and how we create reality, the more you operate from this space, the more you're going to see that this actually will be true for you. Sales has nothing to do with being slimy and sleazy. And when you can see a higher level approach to doing this, a higher frequency, a higher consciousness level approach to doing this, hopefully this is going to unlock in you what it has for so many of my clients. And of course, for me early on in my sales career. So most of my clients are not salespeople. In fact, I've only worked with a handful of salespeople. And there's a reason for that, because I believe it's a lot more difficult to get salespeople to truly care about the product and the person the way a solopreneur, a coach, a healer, or somebody that's going to be working in the high ticket, high value space with people. And so I believe, even though maybe one day we will be able to roll this more consciously evolved approach out in the sales communities, and I keep hearing things like, you'd be surprised, Jana, you'd be surprised. But for now, I really like to speak to my light workers out there, people who are here to change lives, people here who are in the health space and even relationships, but truly are here to be change makers. And the reason I know this will resonate with you is because you are more of a heart-centered entrepreneur, and it doesn't feel good to you to sell the way that so many people tell you to, and rightfully so. I wouldn't want to do that either. In fact, even in my sales career, I couldn't do it. It just didn't feel like me. So I had to figure out another way. And it turns out that other way, interestingly enough, even though people aren't talking about it very much, is so much more impactful for you, for your potential clients, and for that client-coach relationship. So first things first, I just want you to know that there is a different way. Just because that's the traditional approach that everybody teaches, that's just a way. It's not the way. And especially if you're a female, this is going to serve you far better than trying to be a open-hearted entrepreneur trying to sell like some dude that drives a Lamborghini. Okay, so let's begin. So one of the most important things, if you haven't ever seen this before, this is the different levels of consciousness that Dr. David Hawkins, he charted this out with kinesiology using muscle testing, essentially, to measure the frequency of the vibration of these different emotions in the body. body. Okay. And what I want you to focus on is this line that goes right through the middle here, which is neutrality. And what he did, or at least somebody did, was split this chart in two. So everything above, from neutrality and above, is service to others, and it's in the frequency of your power. And that's really important. Okay. You can also think of it as in the frequency of non-ego, right? Non-attachment. You're in your power. Now, everything and pretty much all sales I've ever seen out there is neutrality and below, which is in force. It is very much in your ego. And you can think of ego as anytime you're in a control, like I need it to go the way I want it to go. When you're in attachment, like you're attached to that outcome, or if you're in lack, right? All of those things, all of those programs are programs that are run by the ego, and they exist in neutrality and below. Now, if you think about FOMO, manipulation, all the things that you see in regular sales, it's all below this neutral line. That you think it's slimy and self-serving and like selfish is because it is. It's quite literally service to self. Remember, anything below neutrality, service to self. Anything above, service to others. And so when you have an open-hearted entrepreneur that lives up here, not all the time, let's be real, guys, but is about, helping others, is impact driven, is on a mission. And then you tell them that you have to put fear, you have to push on pain, you have to create a bunch of FOMO, and you have to NLP them and hypnotize them into buying. It doesn't sit right with us because when it feels out of integrity, right? And so now you're in a conundrum. And this is why I do what I do. Because if you're in business, there's three things you gotta have. You've gotta have an offer, product, something that solves a problem, the person to sell it to that will buy it. Because in order to have a successful business, you really need three foundational things. One, an offer that people will buy. Two, people to sell it to. And three, a sales process to take them through. Forget all the flashy marketing and all the flashy content and all the blah, 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 blah out there. At the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. And most of you probably have the first two, maybe. A lot of people I work with are even foggy on that, or trying to sell outcomes and things to people that they don't understand, which is a lesson for another day. But for now, you're missing a third part of this equation, which is sales. Because so many of the people I run into, they're like, oh, can't sell. I don't know what to charge. I'm great at selling other people's things, but when it comes to my thing, I don't know how to charge high ticket. It's hard for me to ask for money. I always say, sales is like having children. It brings up all your stuff. And so now people hit a dead end because they have the product or the offer and they think they know who they're talking to. So they just start creating content and sort of cross their fingers around the sales process because they want to avoid any of this. I don't believe in cold DMs, but they want to avoid even DMs altogether. It feels sleazy. It feels icky. It feels all of these things. And so what did I say? You need three things to have a business. And the third is a sales process. You got to do it. And so this is one of the reasons I believe so many people in more of the consciously evolved community are not doing as well as they could be. And it's because they haven't found an alternative approach. They refuse, just like I did, to lie, cheat, and steal their way to, 6-7 figures. And I'm here to tell you that there's an entirely different way to sell. And when you understand how to do this, not only are you going to make peace with sales and actually have the third part of what makes a successful business, you're going to actually enjoy it. Because when you see the power, remember, this is all of this and below is force, neutrality and above is in power. And when you are in power and empowering others, there's nothing more beautiful. And this is why I say selling is sacred, but it has to be done in that open-hearted service to others. And when you do this, I have people cry on sales calls. I've had thank you notes, not just in emails, legit thank you notes in the mail from people for how impactful I was just with them on the sales call. And so when you can learn to truly operate from neutrality and above, love in your sales process, in the DMs, on your sales calls, even in the comments and getting them onto sales calls, like however, and if you don't have a process for that, you need to, because this is not just throw spaghetti at the wall and cross your fingers that eventually you get clients. Like there's actually a process involved here if you want to get them consistently. But if you are that open-hearted entrepreneur, making peace with this process is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back for you. It's not going to happen with content. It's not going to happen because you go on somebody's podcast and everybody hears you and all of a sudden they just miraculously buy. It's because you've learned to have conversations with your ideal client. You've learned to lead them through a decision-making process with full service and non-attachment, with truly their best interest in mind over what you want. And so, of course, when clients start to work with me, they say, Jana, that sounds great. How is that even possible? And it really happens through the selling is sacred process and modality that I teach. We help our clients stay in this space, remembering, the highest good for all, the intention that you've set, understanding how to be present, how to truly actively listen, how to ask questions and be fully engaged, but not engaged from a, where is my opportunity to get in there and get them to do what I want them to do, but from a neutral curiosity so that you truly can help them get what they want. Because the truth is this, they're on that call because they want things to change, yes? And if you can show them with love, with kindness, with empathy, how you fit into that, and you can articulate the value that you bring to this transformation, it becomes a no-brainer for them. And so I wanted to share this with you because if you know that sales is like, oh, sales calls, I got to put on my sales hat, and you're in these other programs and you're like, I just can't do that. I just want you to know that there is another way. There's a far more consciously evolved way for you. And that's why it doesn't feel like it fits. And so if you want to go deeper into this and understand more about our methodologies, definitely click the link in the description for one of my very best trainings on this, and comment below if you have a question about what I shared today, because I'm happy to go deeper in videos. There's tons of content here with me talking about this and how this works and how magical it will be in your business when it is installed and instilled in you. Because at the end of the day, you don't need millions and millions of people. You just need the right people, and knowing how to communicate with them effectively and lead them through this process truly with love makes all the difference in the world. And not only will that experience be life-changing for you and the prospect on the other end, it will massively change the success, the course. It will massively change your business. So as always, thank you so much for watching. And remember, there is an alternative sales approach for you. And we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.